Yo, 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 what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 508. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Carlos Romero,
Yo, yo, yo.
Brett Murdoch,
What's up?
Richard Bailey Jr. Uh-oh. Richard's not saying nothing. All right, we'll get back to him. And Brian Manjoma.
I love how Capcom just decides to metaphorically drag the nutsack all over Dragon Age Veilguard and releases the demo next week.
Yeah, we will be talking about that, you know. So yeah, we're back, people. By the way, okay, so no Chris action. Kristen, our former moderator, along with Barry Burton, is feeling under the weather, so Chris is taking care of the kid and the wife. And Manny, we don't know where Manny is. This is interesting. I don't know where Manny is. So hopefully he's okay. You know, I shot him a message. We'll see. Anyway, we're here to bring you another show of video games, man. This was kind of a weird week because there wasn't anything like a main narrative, but there was a lot of smaller stories which are very interesting. All right, Rich, are you there, man? Or are you gone too? There he is.
Testing 1 2.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear now, man.
Okay, awesome. I don't know what the hell was going on with my audio, but yeah, glad to hear.
All right, man. And Rich, what's going on with Call of Duty, man? Some interesting stories have come out about it. Specifically, people asking what we've been asking: Is this gonna hurt? Is Game Pass gonna hurt or help this game? You know, I don't know if you've seen some of these stories. Specifically, Game Industry Biz has two stories on this. One is like, you know, an opinion piece is saying how, you know, could it help or hurt it? And then an analyst is predicting that the subscriber count is going to go up by 2 million to 4 million on Xbox Game Pass. So what do you think of that?
Well, I think that's very interesting. We're going to definitely have some answers starting tonight at midnight. I saw that a listing I shared with you guys earlier. Apparently, there are midnight releases for this game.
That is interesting.
At GameStop.
Yeah. Are people even lining up for that?
I have no idea. So if any of y'all are listening to the show, if you know that there's a GameStop in your neighborhood and you've heard people going to midnight, definitely let us know about your experience. I haven't had a chance to go to a GameStop here, so I don't have any idea if there actually is a midnight release. I just was very fascinated by that because I figured, well, a lot of people, aren't they just going to buy their stuff digitally or get it off of Amazon or just have it shipped to them? So I was very surprised to see that.
Yeah. It's, again, interesting because we don't really see those anymore. Midnight launches. So, shit. The last time I was at a midnight launch was for GTA 5, and that was over 10 years ago. You know? I remember Manny and I went there with, like, you know, audio equipment because we were, you know, at STFU and Play. We were just interviewing people and shit. That was fun. But yeah, again, this is something we brought up on the last show and, you know, previous shows. It's like Call of Duty, I think is going to... Actually, Rich, you said this very controversial statement that I agree with. Call of Duty, even though it's technically a Microsoft game now, it's going to sell better on PlayStation because the only way you could play it on PlayStation is through actually buying it, whereas on Game Pass, you effectively get it for free. So I agree with that statement that it's going to sell more on PlayStation. Although later on, I want to bring up something very interesting with regard to the PlayStation port that Adam will probably be upset about, you know? You know. But Brett, I want to get your thoughts on this because we talked about it in the last show, but you weren't here. Do you think Xbox Game Pass is going to help or hurt Call of Duty sales?
That's a really interesting question. I'm gonna probably say like strictly sales numbers.
Yeah.
Probably hurt overall, I would say, because like some people are getting it for free. So I think more people will be playing it, less people will be buying it.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. So even if the game sells less, there might be more people playing it than ever.
Well, I think that's the point.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Driving up those subscriptions, for example.
Well, not just driving up the subscriptions, but like, okay, so first of all, they'll make a crossplay, and that will artificially boot, like, making it crossplay plus having it on Game Pass is going to artificially boost the player count to give it essentially an always healthy community. So that's a big boon for it. But also, this is an evergreen title. Like, they don't want you to buy an evergreen title and then be done with it. They want you locked onto Game Pass for 4 years for each subsequent edition of the evergreen title, and now you'll never leave because of sunk cost fallacy. You've already put them time. Like, why would you buy Call of Duty now? You've already paid for 6 months of Game Pass to play Call of Duty, so you'll just keep it so you can keep playing Call of Duty, even if there doesn't happen to be a game on there that month that you want. It's just insurance against cancellation, which is going to help hold their numbers stronger. And essentially, Microsoft, they're making their money off service. Like, where do you think Sony makes most of its money? It's that fucking PlayStation subscription. We're all like, wow, God, why do they still make us pay $10, $12, $15 a month just to play online? Because it's like their main source of fucking revenue. Like, we're getting fleeced, and that's the part where I think I get big on it. I'm like, look, man, I'm already paying for just the ability to play online, right? Like, if we're saying Game Pass was going to cost me another $20 on top, like, that might be a different discussion. I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to rethink it at that point, but as it is, like, look, man, I'm paying like $5 more than I do just for basic fucking online access, it feels like it. So I think ultimately this will get people in the ecosystem and keep people in the ecosystem, and that will translate to more profit. But none of that necessarily means higher game sales.
Yeah. By the way, just to clarify, Sony makes more money off of software sales than they do like the network. Just for clarification there.
Oh yeah, but like still, they're like, that is still one of their main sources of revenue as a company.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
it is for sure. But
I'm not saying that's primarily what they do, but like, that is a huge inroad of money for them. Like, any of them, and I don't think I don't think Microsoft is primarily. Well, with Game Pass, that might be the big difference. Actually, thinking about it,
yeah,
because I might start to call Microsoft primarily a service company, whereas Sony's still a software company.
Yeah, I mean Sony, hardware as well, obviously, But
I mean, I hope that's not that. I would like to call them a software company. More like I want them to do more than make just hardware. Like,
no, I get that, but I'm saying they are a hardware company. They make a lot of money off of PlayStation 5 physical sales. So just keep.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this, and I know that might be splitting hairs. I'm just curious. Like, do you think they're primarily a hardware or software company?
Sony, hold on. I have to look that up. I got to look at the numbers. But my point is, you can't say they're just a software company when they sell a lot of PS5s.
Oh no! I meant like that's their lead. Like that's what keeps people coming back. Like that's the smell of the cookies that gets into it. That's, to me, that's their offering. Like, Sony's biggest draw is their software. For me, like, that's
okay. You're saying it for yourself. I don't have the numbers, so I can't say. But yeah, but interesting regardless. By the way, I see Manny snuck in there. What's going on, man?
Yo.
Hope everything's all right. I was like, we got to start the show without him.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
I'll explain later.
Okay. Camera action, or you're just looking at your lovely logo tonight?
No, for just for a few more seconds. I just have some back end stuff.
People like seeing that background, man. And the cat, obviously. Oh, by the way, okay. So here's I got to read this. And Manny, I got to read a quote from your favorite person, Mr. Captain Obvious. Michael.
Whoa.
Michael Pachter. So Michael Pachter, and I'm reading this off of Game Industry Biz. Michael Pachter believes that putting Call of Duty in Game Pass could result in up to 6 million lost sales based on the idea that 25% of Game Pass subscribers may have bought the game anyway. However, he adds that the move could result in between 3 to 4 million people signing up to Game Pass to access the title. So he says good overall for Microsoft and for consumers, but the headline will say Call of Duty sales are down. Yeah, Brett, kind of like what you were talking about. Game sales may be down, but revenue may be up. But the headline's still going to say Call of Duty is not selling like it used to. I agree with that. Again, Captain Obvious there. Michael Pachter, Okay,
Well,
go ahead.
real quick.
Go ahead, bro.
Real quick, I just want to point out that's because, and that shit burns me. It just burns me the wrong way because, that's what grabs the attention. So, remember, the reason that you're hearing that is because the thing that those people are selling you isn't the truth, it's engagement. And by being upset, you're now engaged. So, it always reminds me of the little motto, facts don't lie, but liars use facts. Or data doesn't lie, but liars use data. So it's those small things like, I guarantee you're going to see so many Call of Duty sales numbers drop, but that's just it's at best disingenuous.
Yeah, and here's the thing: within the actual article itself, they'll tell you the real reason. They're not going to lie about that. But that headline, they know that's all people are going to read. Especially the ponies. Let's be real. Oh, look what happened. The sales are down. So here's a.
But I mean,
go ahead, Benny.
But I mean, in general, that's it definitely does make the headlines, and Captain Obvious is in that sense is right, but at the same time, is the bigger question is, well, obviously we said this before. It was the thing that would pull people. The thing that would pull people in is the fact that it is, if it was totally on Game Pass or anything like that. But there's no reasoning for anybody to change seats. In this case, the people that are on currently buying it on PlayStation and on PC are not going to all of a sudden just go over to to buy an Xbox because of this.
Yeah, and technically you don't even need an Xbox.
Yeah, you don't really need an Xbox or anything like that. So it's obviously, yes. In the one sense, it's it's good that they have, the Call of Duty franchise because, they now have something. They have something now, but it's really not like having anything. The game hasn't changed because they didn't lock the door. So
yeah. Jay Shep says, does the new subs outweigh the loss in sales? That's the question. Again, if they can make enough money in subscriptions to offset what they've lost in sales, then yeah, it would be worth it in the end.
But see, the thing is that it's, and again,
that's their big gamble, by the way. That's what Microsoft is gambling here.
That's the big gamble, but in the end, it doesn't matter in this case because they still have it on other consoles. So there's still consoles and PC. So it really, if the sales are all great on the other things, and then they have maybe a couple little things on a couple more subscriptions, which I don't think people are just going to be subscribing for Call of Duty.
Yeah. Well, so again, some analysts are saying that that you're gonna potentially get 2 to 4 million new people on Game Pass because of this game.
Hold on, wait. I want to rewind here for a second.
Yeah.
You said that you don't think some people will subscribe for this.
I don't think I don't think it's going to call people to change their habits. If you're already on Xbox, if you're already on Xbox, you're already in the ecosystem, you're not gonna be affected. On any other thing, you're not going to be really affected. Maybe a couple of people hey, look, this is a little bit of a better deal than actually spending money on the thing. But I don't think it's going to be that drastic because of the plain fact it's offered everywhere, and the things haven't changed.
Okay. The reason I wanted to ask that is because we know there are people who pay the online multiplayer service upgrade specifically only to play Call of Duty for the entire year.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, it's like, again, like, I don't think there anything is going to change about that, really.
Well,
like, again, like if it was a full on exclusive, like if we were talking, if Sony didn't make a big old stink because of all this, and they did actually, and Microsoft did manage to close the door on PlayStation, that would have definitely changed things around. But now the communication's not going to change, right? You're not going to be like, oh, hey, only on Xbox or whatever, only on Xbox or PC. Yeah.
Okay, so you mean like nobody's going to change platforms for it because like
no, it's not gonna. It's not gonna. Yeah, it's not gonna call. It's not gonna call anybody. Like, in other words, like all of a sudden, just hearing that it's on Game Pass. I don't think guy who's already on his PlayStation will be like, don't need this shit no more. I'm going to be to get some Xbox. Like, it's like no, he's not gonna do that.
No, but it might cause somebody who's not subscribed to Game Pass to subscribe to Game Pass.
It depends on I would say it also depends on the communication. Like, what, like, obviously, yes, when you say Game Pass, so it's like, okay, you got all this library of games. But I also think that, I think make it get a little bit more, but I don't think it's going to be that much. I don't think it's going to be that drastic. But then again, who knows? People we don't know anybody, any sort of Call of Duty heads besides Adam.
Yeah.
And Adam's always been an Xbox boy in disguise. So.
Well, like, I imagine one of the metrics they're keeping an eye on is adoption, right? Like, Breath of the Wild has just like a 98% adoption rate. So I'm sure if they're looking at who owns Xboxes, and why, I'm sure there have been meetings of why does not everybody who owns an Xbox, why is not every single one of those people on Game Pass? And how do we get, hypothetically, every single one of those people on Game Pass? So I don't think that they'll pull people over from other platforms, especially while it's still there. But I think that there are other more nuanced metrics between platform jumping. You know what I mean? Like getting people into their ecosystem and staying in their ecosystem for extended periods of time seems to be a pretty high priority of theirs.
Yeah, I want to address some things Jay Shep brought up in the chat here. To see where we start. It's a couple of things. I know you're very interested in this subject, my dude. He goes, you also have to take into consideration people who subscribe for a month just to play the campaign. Call of Duty guys, generally speaking, are lifers. Most guys don't even touch the campaign. So I don't think that's going to be happening. I don't think you're going to get a rush of people subscribing for a month just to play the campaign. Nobody cares about the campaign. And before I go to your other statements, I'm going to tell you a quick little story. Back in 2013, first E3 I went to, I was at a food truck, and I saw that one of the guys in front of me had Activision lanyards, right? I'm like, hey, like, what game do you work on? He said Call of Duty. We started talking, and I asked him this, and I was very blunt about it. I'm like, how does it feel knowing that you guys put so much money and work into a campaign and nobody plays them? And he said, it sucks. It hurts. We put a lot of effort into this, but most of our players do not play the campaign. So, yeah, you're not really going to see an influx of people rushing into subscribe for one single month. Call of Duty guys are lifers. If they're gonna subscribe, they're gonna be there the whole year. For the next, Manny and I and other guys on this podcast know dudes that only play Call of Duty every year. That's it, on a cycle, And Microsoft would love those guys, Another thing here that you said, Jay Shep, if Xbox consoles increase, then we'll know that subs increase as well. Not necessarily. Like Brett said, not every Xbox owner is on Game Pass. So just because you don't see console sales go up doesn't mean that the whole initiative failed, right? You could have subscriptions go up, without console sales going up. Because again, and it's not even like, oh, it's like 2 or 3% of Xbox players. Most Xbox players, believe it or not, are not subscribed to Game Pass. Like we talked about this a few years ago. So just keep that in mind. Console sales increase are not going to be indicative of subscriptions. Go ahead, Brett.
I just would say like his answers or his questions kind of answer each other. Like the Call of Duty thing is to stop people from subscribing for a month and then jumping out, right?
Yeah.
It's trying to lock them into the ecosystem, exactly like you said, because not everybody is already locked in. And those are metrics where, as they talk about wanting to be, a service, those are metrics that matter to them. Engagement, retention. These are all metrics that they are measuring by. This isn't, and I hate to say it like this. Like, I think it's archaic to think of game sales as any sort of watermark. And we've talked about this before, but I mean it in the sense of like, game sales are just the very first snapshot in the very beginning when the game comes out. Like, any good company that is forward-looking should be paying attention to engagement and retention. And not just so that they can keep selling their players things, but so that they can pay attention to additional lines of revenue, expansions, even their fucking character skins, even if they're not fucking predatory. But, like, if you are not paying attention to your engagement and only paying attention to how many saps you got to get the pre-order, you are living in 2010 and your company is doomed to fail.
Yeah, other stuff from J Shep here. Lifers will buy the game if they aren't subscribed to Game Pass. You can't make that assumption. If you are an Xbox owner, why would you buy the game when you could just get it on Game Pass? So that's not going to happen, because if whether you buy the game or get on Game Pass, you're getting the same experience. And then he also said,
remember,
yeah,
Game Pass is an upsell to the online charge you're already paying. It is not a standalone thing. It is not like you're just going to go on and play Call of Duty just for free. You're going to be paying, I don't even know, what is it, $10 or $15 a month?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then Game Pass is $20. So it's one of those like, I'm already going to be paying it. I would literally, if I'm only paying $5 extra a month for Game Pass, I would have to pay, have Game Pass for a year before I had paid for that game. So like the numbers on first reaction, you're like, that would be stupid math. But like, it's not great math, even if you do it, but like it's less than you think. Cause like people are like, well, why pay $60, $70 and then another $15 when I can just pay $20 now and play it for a couple months. And if it's dog shit, then I can bail out.
Yeah. And if it's good, you keep on subscribing,
Yeah.
Also, he goes, isn't the multiplayer free in Call of Duty? Not to my knowledge, unless something changed. You have to own the game. Yeah, you have to own the game.
Well, and you have to pay. You have to pay to play online unless you're playing on PC.
Yeah. No, he's talking about J-Shep. Do you think Call of Duty doesn't have a standalone? Unless you're talking about Warzone, that's a standalone multiplayer mode. Is that what you're referring to? Because like, if you want to play Black Ops 6 online, you need to buy that game. You can't just play the online portion alone. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Because again, I'm not a Call of Duty guy, so maybe they changed something here. But historically speaking, you need to own the game to play the online mode. Yeah, Warzone, yeah, that's a separate one. Yeah, so yeah, no, it's different things. Warzone is its own separate thing. This is Black Ops 6. But yeah, and again, this is something I brought up before. We're not going to have an independent way of knowing how well this game does on Game Pass. We just have Microsoft's word for it. That's all we get, which is frustrating because I like having independent people verify this stuff, So we'll see. But regardless, I think, I think the game's going to sell probably the best on PlayStation because you kind of have no choice. But whether or not it's going to help Game Pass, I can't say. I don't want to say it will help. It won't help. I don't know. We'll just have to see. Anybody else have any thoughts on this?
Not much that's been already said, really. The only thing I would like to point out in terms of financially is it's almost like a weird mute point, because one of the things I've noticed every year somehow is you tend to typically get the previous year's Call of Duty somehow ending up in like the top 20 sales of that year, which makes no sense to me. So somehow the previous year's Call of Duty will continue to sell even when the new one's out. So I am certain that the previous year's sales could account and almost equal any losses that might be incurred by Game Pass, in my opinion. Again, I have no data for that because obviously I don't sit here and crunch numbers. But again, you go to any year, there'll always be 2 Call of Duties in the top 20 most sold games for that year. The current year one and the one before, because Call of Duty just does that. So it's very strange to me. So that's my thinking. But yeah, I mostly agree with what Brett's saying, and that's really it.
Yeah. Thanks for answering my question. Yeah, you already know, man. We're here to inform. You know, C Fresh, what's going on, brother? That's my oldest nephew in the house. I know he's a Call of Duty head. You know, so ask him any Call of Duty questions. He will know more than me. You know. Shout out to my man. All right, so remember I teased this other thing. This is interesting. Black Ops 6 on the PlayStation will not have a platinum trophy. So I got to read this, but I'm like, the first thing that came to mind was, is it because Microsoft owns it and they want to, throw a little dig at PlayStation? I don't know. But that's very interesting. Correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time this has happened, right, for a Call of Duty game.
Yeah, does it? Maybe that's an interesting one. So it just has the main amount of trophies. Maybe they're just looking for parity between the two. Right?
I'm gonna have to read the story because this is confusing. Black Ops 6 will not feature a platinum trophy on PlayStation 5, likely due to it being tied to the Call of Duty HQ app. Trophy hunters will still be able to collect 44 new trophies for Black Ops 6, with a platinum trophy available for PS4 users. Call of Duty HQ recently received a new UI update in preparation for Black Ops 6's October 25th. What the fuck is Call of Duty HQ? We have to read this story. What? This is from Game Rant, so indulge me. I'm just going to read this because I'm fucking confused right now. Call of Duty 6 will not have a platinum trophy on the PS5. It has been confirmed. While the upcoming shooter will feature a total of 44 trophies for players to collect on the platform, data that comes directly from the back end of PlayStation reveals that users will be unable to obtain a platinum trophy for Black Ops 6 because it is directly tied to the Call of Duty HQ app, which also includes the likes of Warzone, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops Cold War, and more. Can somebody Google Call of Duty HQ? I don't know what the fuck this is. And I think nobody on the chat knows either. All right, moving on here. While this is most certainly bad news for trophy hunters, Black Ops 6 is still offering up a plethora of content for players to jump into when the game launches. As Treyarch's fluff. According to PlayStation Game Size, an unofficial Twitter account that tracks back-end data for new PS4 and PS5 titles, Black Ops 6 will have a total of 44 trophies for players to unlock, but PS5 will feature no platinum trophy. While collecting every trophy in the game would usually present users with a platinum trophy, Black Ops 6 will not feature the coveted award as the game is directly tied to the HQ app. And with new games being added to the app each year, it makes it impossible for a player to collect every trophy. Did anybody look up this HQ app? What the fuck is this shit? Does anybody in the chat know what this is? If Adam was there, he'd give us the whole breakdown. All right, let me tell you right now. HQ app. I don't know what to make of this story. I don't know what to say.
It kind of makes a little bit of sense in a weird way.
Can you? It's the app that's fucking me up. What is this app for? What does it do?
I think that may be a bit of a smokescreen. It seems like their opinion is, how can you have a trophy for completing everything when we're constantly adding content?
But why does the PS4 have a platinum and the PS5 doesn't?
I'm guessing, and this is straight guessing. I'm guessing that if they're trying to lean towards this new idea and kind of phase it out, that's how you would do it.
I don't know, man.
You'd be like, well, we can't have a platinum because we're just going to be constantly adding new content, which is a great value for the consumer.
But that doesn't make any sense because since platinum trophies have existed, we've had extra content. All it does is reduce your percentage of the trophies you get, but you still retain the platinum. So
yeah, I'm wondering if this is either A, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, or B, they're kind of changing the way that they view things. And like, to be honest, like the trophy system, while it's not my cup of tea, I know lots of people enjoy it. I can see at some point it maybe eventually, I'm going to hate people for saying this. It kind of feels a little archaic, and I think I don't think it will last forever.
I obviously heavily disagree with that. But Brett, kind of to what you were saying there, I don't think this will matter in the end. Remember what I just said before? Call of Duty guys, just play the multiplayer. Don't give a fuck about the campaign. No one's going to give a shit about this platinum.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe that's the thing, but I don't know. I don't think trophies or achievements are going to go anywhere.
No, they're not. They're a mainstay.
I think it's just going to
gaming.
stay where it is. Yeah, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think
there's a good chance I'm wrong on that. I will own that. That's just me.
Yeah, but to be fair to everybody, you don't care about trophies. We do, so we're both biased on both ends. To be fair, we're both biased on both ends.
But there's still people.
But I don't want. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We're about to. I already feel it's going down this rabbit hole. We're not going there.
Hey, Tony.
You've sent the disturbance in the force.
I made it the fuck up.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like a insider? So you're just as good as those guys who make up.
That'll
shit.
be a reference, man.
Yeah, that is true. What's the point I was going to make? Oh yeah. So in some past Call of Duty games, okay, think about it like this, right? You effectively get the platinum trophy by finishing the campaign, and a lot of people still didn't get that platinum trophy. Why? Because they're playing it online. They don't give a fuck about the campaign, even though the campaign is like 5 hours long. They don't give a fuck.
Okay, but what does the guy's statements fucking mean? Like that's.
I don't. Again, this whole story confuses me. Like, and this isn't like a rumor. This is like been verified apparently. But so like the PS4 version gets the platinum, but the PS5 version doesn't because of this app. So if you have the app, do you get the platinum trophy then on PS5?
Wait, does the PS4 not use the app, but the PS5 version does?
Maybe. This is. I'm sorry, Game Rant.
That's a weird one.
That's a little bit bad writing here, bruh.
Hold on. Yeah. What if it is that the PS5 version has this app, and this app provides continual content, and because of the continual content, they view that you can never really truly be done and have earned a platinum?
But that's bullshit because many games have had continuous content and had platinum.
No, it's absolutely bullshit. I'm just trying to find out like where this person went off the track.
What makes this situation different? Interesting thing. So this app is pretty much like it's a Call of Duty ecosystem. Right?
Where do you download? First of all, where do you download this app? What do you download it?
You can download it. You can download it to your phone.
It's a phone app.
Yeah, it's a phone app.
Is it does it have a desktop one too?
As far as I know, it doesn't. But
yeah, it does.
Okay. What if you own the game on console? You just have to use the phone app. Is that how it works?
The phone app is sort of like, again, it's almost like PSN or Xbox Live, but for Call of Duty, where everything around it, revolves around all the things that you do within Call of Duty games. It says stuff like, contact your friends, compare your the way you play against other players, and then it says, check your achievements and things like that. So it's sort of like its own ecosystem that's separated from. I mean, I don't know if anybody even uses this thing though.
This is the first
How
time I'm
old
hearing
is
about
this?
it. This literally the first time I'm hearing about this. You heard my confusion as I was reading the story. I was like, the fuck? And apparently none of us know either, and nobody in the fucking chat knows. So this has got to be a Call of Duty head thing, you know? But yeah, I think at the end, the reason it stuck out to me, because obviously I'm a big trophy guy. That shit stuck out. But yeah, in the end, it won't matter because the Call of Duty player base doesn't give a shit, you know?
Well,
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But interesting regardless.
I think the real answer here is whatever they say that they're doing, they're trying to take away the end goal because that takes you off the hamster wheel that they want you on.
Yeah.
Like
Interesting.
what do you do when you get the platinum? You stop playing.
Yeah. Pretty much. But again, that's not Call of Duty, guys, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like once you like for that, like in other words, for that situation, if you get the platinum, you know, most people are looking to get that completion thing.
Adam
But
gets the
yeah, I don't
platinum,
think
obviously, you know, but most guys,
Yeah.
like my cousin, he probably never doesn't have a single Call of Duty trophy. He says it.
Yeah.
He says he's never played a campaign. He goes straight to online, and that's all he cares about.
Or
know?
trophy.
The 4 trophies, you know. We got to link up with him next week too, you know.
Is he on me?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. All right, let's get over into some controversy. We got to talk about Prince of Persia. Hold on, Brett. Not yet. We got to start something small. Then we'll get to the big one. Yeah, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, because you know it can't be another week without Ubisoft taking another L. So this started as a rumor, right? This started as a rumor that the team behind the Prince of Persia game that came out earlier this year, The Lost Crown, had been disbanded, right? Bunch of reports came out, and then Ubisoft verified it. The game didn't really meet the sales it wanted, and the team is being spread out to other sections. Thankfully, at least from what we've seen and what Ubisoft has said, no one has been fired. It's just they're working on other projects now. So that's good. You know, we've had plenty of people being fired this year, but I was a little surprised by this because, and admittedly, I haven't been tracking the game that much. So I was just like under the assumption like, oh, people like this game. It must have sold well. People also like Hi-Fi Rush too. Look what happened to that.
Yeah, that was not fair. Okay. Hot take. I feel like there's a difference between fired and laid off. I think fired is okay. Laid off is bullshit.
Okay, Brett.
Like,
you need to, with the risk of us going down a rabbit hole.
I think you might have that a little bit backwards.
No.
If you're getting
Actually, man,
If
you're
you
taking
do
me
a
down a
poor
rabbit
job-
hole. Okay, I want to hear.
No.
Fuck it, we're doing this. I want to hear both your explanations because I'm coming at it from a different angle.
No, if you're fired, that means that you did something fucked up and they fired your ass. If you've been laid off, you could at least apply for unemployment.
Yeah, no, like if you've been
So
fired,
laid off is
because
actually
you did a bad job. If you get laid off,
is
that's wildly unfortunate.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
And me, the third guy, I'm like, to me, they're the same thing because you lost your fucking job.
No. Okay, so Hi-Fi Rush, laid off.
Yeah.
Duskborn,
yes.
fired.
Shit. Yeah. No. Here's the thing. I understand there is a difference, but in my mind, I'm like, they both result in the same thing. You don't have your job anymore.
Oh,
you know.
Yeah, one person
you don't have
deserves
your,
it, though.
you don't have your job anymore. But at least if you got laid off, you probably, you know, in some cases there's a severance package.
Yeah.
They pay off your vacation time. You can go on unemployment. You know, stuff like that. If you got fired, yeah, that means some pretty screwy things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Again, I understand that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying in my mind, you lost your job. You know. Anyway, so that happened.
One is better than the other.
Yeah. You'd rather be laid off for sure.
Yeah,
you know?
much rather be laid off. Much rather have your position be eliminated. You know, which is the nice way of you're fired. But
Yeah.
still, you at least have all those different things that are beyond there. you know,
Hold on, Manny, with the risk of going down further down rabbit hole, what would you prefer, being laid off or being given the window seat?
ooh, laid off or window seat. Well, because we don't have the things like Japan
Yeah, we don't.
has. I'll take the window seat.
Yeah, because eventually, but they're doing all this evil stuff to try to make you quit, you know. But yeah.
But I'm still officially in the United States. They don't have all these bonuses and stuff like that bump your salary up to where it's a good salary. That's how they do it.
Because they don't give you the bonuses.
Yeah, they don't have bonuses and all kinds of other things that are attached onto top of your base salary that bumps you up to having a good pay.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's their sneak. Where in other words, they'll just pull off all the bonuses, they'll pull off all the things, and you're at your base salary, and then you're doing nothing. Here in the States, there's no such thing as doing that.
Yeah, we don't have that.
So,
and then the other evil thing they pull is like they'll do like your annual review. It's like, oh, this year you haven't done anything, and then they'll quote unquote fire you. It's like, of course I haven't done anything. You kept me in this fucking closet,
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
You didn't come in on time. But
because it looks bad if they fire you, but they can fire you if you've done a bad job. So technically, you've done a bad job if you've just been sitting in this closet doing nothing. That's some evil shit, man.
Oh, we have something like that.
What is it called, Brett?
I forget. It's like PIP or something like that. Like, it's where they call you in and officially reprimand you, and then give you this like quote unquote progress plan, but like towards like fixing the issue. But everybody knows that you're just going to be fired. Like they're just laying down the paperwork trail to fire you.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, regardless, these people are continuing to work, and this is a rumor. Apparently, rumors. Correct me if I'm wrong, because it might be legit that they're working on another Rayman game, which I would love. Because a lot of the same people that worked on the Rayman games were part of this team. So it's like, ooh, can we get another Rayman, please? But Ubisoft doesn't give me what I want. I want my motherfucking Rayman. I want my motherfucking real Prince of Persia, and I want Splinter Cell. I'm sorry that this new Prince of Persia, cool. I heard it was good, but I don't want Killmonger Prince of Persia, if you know what I mean. But yeah, like again, this game was
he's not even the Prince of Persia. Like officially, he's not in the plot of the game. He's not the Prince of Persia.
So it's like
the Prince of Persia. The Prince of Persia's in the game. Just Killmonger dude is going to save the prince.
Yeah. Okay. You just literally just killed it. Because I have the game. I was like, I still want to check it out, but would you just tell me don't bother with this game, bro? It's gonna piss you off.
Well, would you expect him to be the prince? No, he's not the prince.
No, I thought they were like, oh, he's the prince now. I'm like, oh, okay.
No, he's another guy. He's some other dude. Yeah. That's why they gave it some other goofball moniker or whatever they call it, right?
The Duke of Persia. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, he could be the Duke of Persia. No, he's another guy, and he's either saving the prince or he's doing something for the prince. The prince and him are two different separate things.
Oh, that's stupid. But yeah, that was kind of interesting. But again, another L for Ubisoft.
So Manny,
what's up? Okay.
What you're saying is that they made a Prince of Persia game without the Prince of Persia?
Yes.
That's really dumb. It's almost as dumb as making a game called Alan Wake 2 without Alan Wake.
Well, I mean, Alan Wake is actually... Alan Wake is in Alan Wake.
Just like the Prince of Persia is in Prince of Persia.
Well, no, Prince of Persia, you're not playing the Prince of Persia.
But you said he's in it, though.
He's in it.
Yeah. Just like Alan Wake is in Alan Wake.
But Alan Wake is in Alan Wake, and you play Alan Wake, so it still could be called an Alan Wake game. Prince of Persia, side scroller, theoretically you could call it something else because but obviously since it's the Prince of Persia and that's the thing that sells the thing to people, it's the Prince of Persia game.
Yeah. Here's something interesting. The game's coming to Steam. It's coming to Mac too. So go ahead, Brian. What are your thoughts on this, bro?
Alan Wake?
No, not Alan Wake.
I'm kidding.
Go ahead, Brian. What are your thoughts, bro?
On it coming to Steam?
Prince of Persia, the whole thing, the game, the team being shuffled off, no sequel, coming to other platforms, everything.
Tony, I was right there with you. Because when I heard the game, I was like, okay, like new Prince of Persia game, cool. And then I seen Killmonger, I'm like, okay, not cool. And then all this controversy about it not actually being the Prince of Persia, so it's like, why even bother? So I'm more concerned as to what happened to the remaster of the first game. They showed the content and then they just went quiet.
Vaporware, that one, right?
It went the way of Beyond Good and Evil. That's crazy.
So yeah. Again, I'm with Tony. Just give me an actual 3D Prince of Persia game. I am well aware the OG was 2D side scroller. Yes, fine, but that was back in the 80s, was it?
Late 80s, early 90s, around that time frame.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was then. So, it's fine. You want to do a homage to that? I don't mind. Nothing against that. But give me a 3D one, and I'll be there. Else, don't even bother. Again, I've never been a fan of Rayman, so I guess if Tony and Rico are happy, then go for it. But yeah.
Here's the interesting thing. We both like Rayman, but we like different Rayman games. I'm more of a fan of the 2D games, and he's more a fan of the 3D games. I like the 3D games too, just like Riku likes the 2D games, but we kind of go on those sides,
Rayman Legends is probably the best Rayman game
man.
for me.
Oh, I agree. Overall, bro, it's fucking legendary.
But
Riku's it's like Riku and Sonic. He likes 3D Sonic more than he does.
It's true.
Does 2D Sonic.
Yep. Anyway, anybody else have any more thoughts on this?
Yeah, I would like to make a comment on this.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
So first and foremost, I will say I do agree with the critiques of the game. I actually was the person that reviewed this game, and I spoke about this game on the show when it came out earlier this year. I still think it's the best game Ubisoft has released this year. Not a Star Wars game, that Star Wars game, that's a different story. But the reason why this happened, you guys talk about the sales. This is a game that should have been on Steam at launch. They shouldn't be bringing it to Steam right now. And I think that's the main criticism as to why it didn't sell well, because at the same time when this game came out, remember Ubisoft released that statement about, yes, somebody at Ubisoft was talking about, we still own the digital games, that controversy of that particular statement. And then they had their Ubisoft service that they wanted to push on this game. So if I was them, I would have launched this game on Steam also, but they decided not to do that. So thinking it was only going to sell on consoles and through their Ubisoft platform, it definitely was a bad direction to go. This is why you're hearing now the Star Wars game, I think, is on Steam. I don't know if it's coming to Steam yet, but and then of course they announced that the Assassin's Creed game is going to launch on Steam also. So that didn't we also sort of say that like in general the consensus on these games have been like the Ubisoft service, it was a waste of time, where it's like, why do they have to have a totally separate system for their own fucking games? Like
all
their
those
own
launches are just
it.
a waste of time at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone can really doubt that at this point, and it's been proven by the fact that so many of them have just all come back to Steam at some point, and so many launches have shut down. I mean, what's the one? Bethesda one, dead in the water, doesn't exist anymore. The Activision one, I'm pretty sure will be dying off very shortly. Ubisoft coming back. EA start putting the games back on Steam. Like,
they all come back eventually.
There's a Rockstar launcher. These motherfuckers release one game per decade.
Yeah. Whoa. Ridiculous. It's true that Rockstar launcher's like, why? This makes no fucking sense.
So I have a question. Are they going to be using that next week when they drop the Red Dead PC game version?
Maybe they probably
Who
will.
knows?
You know, again, Carlos, one game a decade, right? So there you go.
Yep. And that's just a remaster.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's get into it. Brett, get in here, bro. We gotta talk about Dragon Age, man. Oh boy. I've just seen some tangential stuff. So I'm just gonna let you take over. What's going on with Dragon Age?
Oh man, it's catching some heat, man. It looks like a game that is not Dragon Age. So I'm not really sure if any of y'all caught like the internet drama that happened with David Gator.
Oh yes. Oh
Okay.
yes.
No, I don't know. I don't pay attention to Dragon Age in general, so I probably don't pay attention. So what will happen in general? What's going on?
So David Gator, one of the original writers of Dragon Age, did one of our, a very smart business tactic. Took to Twitter to berate fans and ended it with the famous quote: "Don't like it, don't buy it." So yeah.
Yeah, just really going off on how the game, people talking about the game looking woke are they're fucking tourists because the game has always been progressive, and to a certain extent that is true. But this is also big words from somebody who's clearly has strong feelings about it. Very mixed, strong feelings. Like, he says he wouldn't play it, but he's sure that they're doing everything great and everything like that. Like, there's just been a lot of criticism, and for me, I think the dog whistle that kind of set me off as being like, ooh, I don't know about all this, was a non-binary Canary, and that's fine. Actually, they had a character in the last game, in Inquisition, who I don't know if you would call them trans or a crossdresser in that context.
Within the game itself, they were passing. That's what they said.
Okay,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So, like, that's fine. The problem is the Canary, they kind of like, their identity is their role in society, right? Like, it's this very, it's kind of like Muslim, gypsy, nomad kind of, it's a really interesting culture. I personally, like, I don't love a lot of the cultures in Dragon Age. The elves seem, I don't know, man. Like, the elves just seem like refugees all the time. Like, there's never been a point in history that they haven't been a victimized refugee group, which just feels weird. Like, a lot of the geopolitics in the world feel kind of fucked up, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, the elves, they lost their homeland and they got scattered. And since people are like against magic and they were magic users, they just became like a servant class slave, all that stuff. So
that lives on the edges of society, but it's been that way for like hundreds of years.
Yeah, for like thousands, close to 1,000 years. Yeah.
Yeah, like you'd think like that should have resolved itself kind of by now. Like, it feels like being stuck in very weird, like, the geopolitical moments that they feel stuck in feel like they should be transient, right? Like, it feels like being in the middle of an industrial revolution for 500 years, right? Like, that doesn't feel, but whatever. Like, my beef with that was particularly, it doesn't sound like they are prioritizing their own world building, right? Like, they spent all this time building up this world and these rules, to deviate from that, like, you would need to be making a literary example or a reason for it, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, I'm kind of open-minded to it, but then I started on some digging myself, and found out things like you're only able to import 3 of your decisions from the previous game, being who you romanced, whether you dissolved the Inquisition, and whether or not you sought vengeance on a particular somebody. And the play style is they did away with all that fiddly RPG stuff, and now it just basically plays like God of War. You can't actually directly issue your companions orders. So I've heard it referred to as a combination of God of War 2018 mixed with Guardians of the Galaxy.
So it's like a third-person action game instead of an RPG. That is weird.
That is, it's very weird, and I personally feel like holy shit, like this has been the first Dragon Age I've played every single one on release since the first one because I was such a big fan of KOTOR. This will be the first one I'm like, I'm done. I think I'm done, and I think that sentiment is something a lot of people share, and I think BioWare is just done. Especially on top of, I'm not sure, this is a side tangent kind of thing, but they also recently this week made some news for their release of the Mass Effect board game, which included pronouns, and when people pointed out that Commander Shepard, that male Shep doesn't really need a he, him after his name, and we know who these companions are. Like they have, this hasn't been necessary before. And I'm not making a statement on whether or not that belongs. Like inclusion, I personally think it's unnecessary and kind of stupid. But I also have a long diatribe about I think identity politics divide us instead of unite us, and so that's a big thing of mine. But so the big thing with that was they reacted to criticism in a mature and thoughtful way by going on Twitter and attacking their fan base.
Oh, as you do.
Yeah. So like twice in a week. So it's just been, BioWare seems to be catching L's. Dragon Age seems to have lost its soul. This seems to be the final straw that BioWare has been balancing precariously on for many years. So a big, I just kind of wanted to touch base because I know a lot of us have talked through the very long history of this podcast about BioWare, and I think we've all kind of landed off on Dragon Age better hit. And so now that we're on the eve of Dragon Age releasing, I'm kind of curious what you guys' thoughts are.
Yeah, just like you, I'm a huge Dragon Age fan. I would spend hours reading the lore, the in-game lore, right? It was so captivating, right? And I even credit that game, to really getting me into fantasy. I was never really a fantasy guy growing up, a sci-fi guy. But when I heard that game was like really, okay, here's what got me into it. Played Mass Effect, absolutely loved it. I'm like, I want more of that. Though, especially, the character interaction shit. People are like, yo, check out Dragon Age, bro. I'm like, it's fantasy though. All that fruity shit. And I'm like, okay, but then they had like the end of the year special, one of those fucking collector's editions for like $40. I'm like, fuck it, I'll buy it. Love the game. Fantastic, right? And as a little bit of a side note, I then went on to find out, when Game of Thrones was being like just coming out, it's like, oh, this show is based on the book that Dragon Age is inspired by. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta watch this show. And obviously, one of my favorite fantasy series of all time, the novels specifically. Although the show was fucking great up until season 5. But anyway, love Dragon Age. They fell off with Dragon Age 2 because they tried to make it more like Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2 worked really well because they kind of stripped away the bad RPG stuff and made it more of a shooter. And it worked for that, right? Didn't work so well with Dragon Age. But it was still a continuation of that world. Even though mechanically, gameplay-wise, I didn't like Dragon Age 2, the story was fantastic. Great story, right? Then we had Inquisition, which brought things back. It had more of that feel of Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age Origins is still the gold standard, but Inquisition was a good step forward, even though it did get a little bloated. So when they announced, obviously I was like, give me another motherfucking Dragon Age, right? But given the current state of things, I was a little bit worried about where this game would go. Then we get that fucking reveal trailer. We were all here. We live streamed that shit. That was, somebody asked us on the Sunday show, what was an announcement that got you hyped and instantly deflated you? Dragon Age Veilguard, bro. I had never gone so hard and then gone so flaccid within a span of 10 seconds in my life. You know, when you saw that fucking Fortnite looking shit that they showed. A couple days later, they had a 20-minute trailer for it. And I don't really watch trailers that long. I watched every single second of that. Because again, I'm a Dragon Age fan. I'm like, okay, this is better than that bullshit Fortnite Overwatch looking trailer. But some things were raising alarms, right? The companions, the shitty dialogue, the art style. I'm like, I don't know about this, bro. And then obviously, Brett, as you mentioned, in the subsequent weeks, we just had kind of bad news. Again, the developers, either developers working on the game or people who had been associated with Dragon Age talking all this shit towards the fans. Not a good look. And just like you, again, big Dragon Age fan, I'm not really interested in this. Okay, I can't speak because, I'm a game reviewer, so there's certain things I can't talk about at the moment, but I will not be reviewing this game. And that says a lot. That says a lot. Because I reviewed Dragon Age Inquisition for the Coalition, and I even reviewed Dragon Age 2 for my own blog back in the day. Love these games. So me refusing, not really refusing, but me just saying fuck it says a lot. Go ahead, Rich.
So let me just say, as a fan of all the work that you do, Mr. Polanco, I am very disappointed to hear that we are not going to get your full opinion of this game. But on a serious tip, yeah, I understand that. I've seen a lot of videos, that have been circulating because, there was a preview event for Dragon Age recently. And just about every video I've seen, there are people saying, this is good, but this is not the Dragon Age that I remember. Mm-hmm. So I kind of feel like everybody is definitely a cause for concern if you're a Dragon Age fan. But I do want to say this. I believe I can say this because, like you, I'm not reviewing the game. However, it is public knowledge that the review embargoes end on Monday. So I have a feeling we will know on Monday what the general consensus is on this game. So should be very interesting.
Yeah, a couple other things I wanted to bring up here. Even the development team itself, right? It's not just people saying, "Oh, this is not the Dragon Age I remember." The development team itself said, "This is our take on Dragon Age." They said this, right? They said they're not worried about what happened in the past. What's that saying? They're not burdened by what has been. They've said this. This is not. You can look it up. It's all there. So seeing all these things, I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I could stay with my memories of Dragon Age I remember and not get flustered about this stuff. Let the game drop. And I will say this though, I do think, at least initially, this game will sell well because of the brand. Dragon Age. Here's the thing: Dragon Age hasn't been around for so long; it hasn't had a chance to get tainted like a lot of our favorite brands. But after that first week, we're gonna see what's up. Oh
no, Tony! I forgot. That was the other thing I forgot to say.
Yeah.
When I was looking up some stuff. So pre-orders for this thing are terrible.
Yeah, they're bad.
They're bad. People that I've looked up, obviously I haven't verified them personally, but some pretty good indicators that these people are who they say they are, and that they run multiple big box retailers like regional managers and things like that. And in generally in 800 plus stores, they'll have 2,000 maybe pre-orders. So it's coming down to maybe one or two pre-orders per
store, right?
Per store.
Yeah.
And apparently it has been so bad that they have partnered with NVIDIA to give away free copies with the sale of their chipsets to kind of artificially inflate the numbers, which is...
by the way, just on the quick note, I know some people have used that as a nefarious thing, but that is not an uncommon thing to hear.
No, it's not. It's just a brushstroke. But together with all the other brushstrokes, it's painting a nefarious picture. And that's where I'm coming from. There's no been one big thing, but the Canary thing I talked about earlier, and then that coupled with the somebody had mentioned that they didn't know what a lot of the players' decisions had made. So big, overarching things that had impact lore-wise, they're going to kind of vaguely refer to or not refer to at all, which is a problem in a game built around continuity and bombastic lore, right? Like, it's supposed to be a lived-in world where consequences matter, not ones where you avoid it. And Tony, you'll actually, because this has been bothering me, like, you've read the lore, so like the Qunari, their identity is based off of their place in society. So if they are exiled from their, I forget what it's called, then they're considered exile. Like, that's their identity. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So like lore wise, them being non-binary should be superseded by them being exiled, which, like, I guess if they've taken fully into, like, there better be a really good story here, but all of these things together kind of paint this picture of a game that is unfamiliar with its own lore. And that I find incredibly troubling. And that, I think, is the reason that I'm going to be skipping out on it.
Yeah.
There's all of these reasons that it could and does seem bad. But as you said, it's the storytelling that's supposed to be drawing us here. Yeah. And the fact that it doesn't know its own story is an issue.
Yeah, no, again, once they said, we're not worried about what we've done before, we're doing our own thing, I'm like, okay, that lets me know I don't need to mess with this, because I like the lore. The lore is part of the reason I just draw. Again, this lore is fucking deep. It is as deep as, the things that it is inspired by. I spent hours and hours and hours reading this stuff within the game, because it's so captivating and it informs everything. And it is one of those games where the world feels alive. It feels independent even outside of you, right? So it seems like we're going to lose that. But like I said, I'm at a point where instead of, like, even though I guess we are somewhat complaining about it, I'm not going to go on, like, Twitter or social media to bitch. I'm just like, okay, I'm just not going to play it. And even as a reviewer, I'm like, you know what? I'm good, bro. I'm good.
I think the one thing about it is it's like, whenever, so essentially what this thing is sounding like, it's only Dragon Age in name.
Yes.
It is not a Dragon Age game, which is unfortunate, because especially when you have such a install base that is all, pretty much chomping at the bit, hey, we really want a next generation sort of Dragon Age game, and then all of a sudden, no, we're not going to be doing that at all. So then why call it Dragon Age? Why not just call it Veilguard?
Yeah.
Excuse me, Veilguard.
Yeah, I think you got it right the first time.
Why not just call it Veilguard? Because they can't, because as much as they try, they're trying to rebel against what has been, right? They are utterly dependent on it.
Yeah. Why would you rebel against what has been when you're building on the back of it?
That's the thing. They're only riding the coattail of this franchise, as opposed to being a companion to, a continuation of the franchise. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the same situation we were just sort of talking about before, right? It's hey, look, how come you have a Prince of Persia game, but you don't have the Prince of Persia in it? Or, you can't play as the Prince of Persia. It's the same sort of situation. It's like, yeah, it's called Dragon Age, but it's not anything close to whatever the previous Dragon Age's games were.
Oh my God, stop taking things and, quote, making it your own.
Yeah.
No, we can't have that anymore, man.
I don't need to see anybody else's take on anything. All right? Just fucking stick to the script. Jesus Christ. The thing that bothers me about this is, like, it's, do what you want. Make the game that you want. Honestly, by all accounts, this doesn't seem like a bad game. The problem is that we're not going to get Dragon Age. Like, story time. So, I love the book World War Z. Fucking love that shit. For anybody who hasn't read it, is a zombie apocalypse anthology series, kind of set as a person interviewing survivors after the zombie apocalypse, and then built back into chronological order so that you kind of get an overarching story. It's brilliant, right? And then the movie comes out, and the movie is Brad Pitt saves his fucking kids. fucking awful, right? It's got weird swarming zombies, has nothing to do with anything. The book, grounded, cerebral, slow, surreal, human. The movie, just weird swarming CGI zombies. And it just kind of like makes me so mad because I want to then just I want to make a book and have the book written to be all about Brad Pitt saving his kids and then make a movie about it and name it World War Z. Just something like it's the opportunity that gets taken away is the biggest problem here, right? The Wheel of Time series can be an abortion all at once, but the Wheel of Time series being an abortion means that I'm never going to get the series that I patiently waited 20 years for because somebody had to, quote, fucking make it their own. Somebody who was not a fan, as long as I was, who was that they just came in and just decided to put their fucking pin in it, right? You can't just come into somebody else's party and change the music and then expect them not to get upset. So, like, it's not even that this is a bad Dragon Age game, or it's not even that it's a bad game. It's that this is a lack of a Dragon Age game moving forward. And that's where the hate comes from. And that's, for me, that's where the malice just comes from. It's like, this is, it looks like a video game. It plays like a video game. You can buy it like a video game. But the funny thing is, it's not a video game. What it is it's the shattered whole of dreams that will never be fulfilled in the shape of a video game. Fun, right?
Yeah. And unfortunately, you can say that about a lot of franchises we love, but that's a whole other story.
But I think the thing about it is when you try to experiment in these ways and try to recontextualize and throw everything out that was before, then you alienate people. And I think that's a lot of what it seems like a lot of people are feeling right here. It's like, okay, we got the promise of a Dragon Age game, but then we're not going to get Dragon Age, and we have a bunch of people telling us we're stupid because you're not liking our Dragon Age.
Yeah.
Like, number one, the first thing as a person who's attempting to sell a product, don't browbeat the people that are your consumers. The things that you need to say, you want everybody to buy your thing, fans and newcomers. So how and then again, like the first experience that some people will be having of Dragon Age is just sort of like this weird action game that has the name of something that is familiar, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, like one interesting thing is like it's a weird thing. It's almost like they're treating Dragon Age like Final Fantasy.
Exactly.
Like in other words, how you know how like Final Fantasy games, they throw everything out from the previous Final Fantasy game, and it's still Final Fantasy. It's the number, but it's a totally different world.
Yeah,
it's almost like that. It's
Except
like, okay,
you can't do that when you're 3 games in. You know,
you can't do that when you're 3 games in. But it's like, you know, I would say like each consecutive time a Dragon Age game has sort of come out, it's sort of weirdly changed.
It's changed, but it's following up on the last one. The story continues.
Yes, like the story continues.
It's the same story, same world, same lore, same characters. Yes, they do change mechanically. Mm-hmm. You're right about that, but it's the same world. You know, this one, fuck it, we don't care. You know, again, they flat out tell you this, like, this is our Dragon Age. They said this. You know. Anyway, we're going on about this too long, so let's move on. But we'll see. Like Rich said, next week will be interesting. But anybody have any thoughts before we move on?
I actually have a very quick thought, which is fascinating because I want to hear what you guys think about this. So the other news was that they announced on Twitter that this game will not have Denuvo, which is the DRM system or software that 90% of PC games have.
We'll be talking about Denuvo in a little bit, by the way.
I just wanted to know what you guys thought about that.
Are they doing that to make people not hate it as much?
I have no idea. All I
I
see
mean, it
is
also makes games run like trash, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's not going to
It
be
does.
on it. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Denuvo.
again. I don't. Again, all they've said is that they just trust us with it. But
Oh.
obviously,
Oh,
there's some. Again, I never trust anyone whenever they do anything nice, unless it's CD Projekt. So
Or Valve.
I'm certain that there's Valve even these days. Like for me, Valve is like one step away from being like evil, in my opinion.
shit. We're gonna talk about
It's
that
just-
too.
It's on the brink. But yeah, I don't trust when they do something nice, well, quote unquote nice, because there's always some ulterior motive behind it. And I say this because, again, bringing back to Sony, because everything can be, how they said, oh yeah, PC games, you can log into your PSN account and get trophies. Oh, I thought that would be great. And then they started removing games on certain storefronts and locking games so that you are required to log in or else you can't play the game. So I'm certain that there's some ulterior motive behind EA doing this, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. No, I'm glad.
Log into the EA service.
Brian, I'm moving this story up the queue, man. Since you brought it up, so Denuvo, nobody really likes them. Now they're apparently on a media tour trying to clean up their image because they're getting tired of gamers hating on them. La caja. What's going on, Lou? Haven't seen my man in a while. Hope you're doing good, brother. So I'm going to read this off of Games Radar here. By and large, PC gamers hate Denuvo. Denuvo. I've been saying this wrong the whole time. Whatever. The controversial DRM software that has become the industry standard for anti-piracy protection. It seems that Denuvo is trying to rehabilitate its image with a big PR campaign led by product manager Andreas Ullman, who's making the interview circuit while trying to improve the company's image among gamers. So this is what my man had to say. I think it's super hard for a gamer. I'm a gamer myself, and therefore I know what I'm talking about. I think it's super hard to see as a gamer what is the immediate benefit for me that a certain game developer, game publisher is using our anti-piracy services. This gap, coupled with the fact that Denuvo, quote unquote, simply works and, quote, pirates cannot play games, end quote, which use it, as Ullman puts, are two main contributors to its negative reputation, he argues. So he goes on to say this. If I, as a gamer, would read that, I see, okay, then these big corporations are just making even more money. Ullman says that with budgets for AAA games in the hundreds of billions, publishers looking for insurance in the forms of a Denuvo. Again, this does not have an immediate benefit for me as a player. But if you look further, the more successful a game is, the longer it will get updates, the more additional content will come to that game, the more likely it is that there will be another game. That's basically the benefits that we offer to the average player. Brian, what do you think of all that? Actually, go ahead, Ben. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing, nowhere in there do they say how much they fucking gimp performance.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Yeah. You know what, Brian? Give me your thoughts on that, and I'll see if they say anything.
The hate doesn't come from the fact that it's a DRM system. Nobody gives a shit about that. There are other DRM systems that don't fucking fuck with your games.
Yeah.
But this one specifically is the one that screws over your performance.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I scrolled down. He does talk about performance. Let's see what he has to say.
All right, let's see what they did.
Yeah. As for the material complaints about Denuvo, namely that it negatively affects performance in games that utilize it, this is what he says. There are valid cases, Ullman admits, especially when we are talking about the one that comes up on a regular basis, Tekken 7. That was also confirmed by the technical producer back in the day on Twitter. Ullman continues, the thing is, I think it's important to understand how our solution works, and it's also worth considering because when these performance claims come up, it's mostly this Tekken case that is referred to. You are so full of shit. The only time we're talking about this is for Tekken 7. Really? Let me finish this fucking quote. But considering that we are protecting 60 to 70 games per year, it's quite interesting to see that there is only, if even, a handful of games where there was an effective negative impact cost. That's just a minority. Bro, literally every fucking game that uses this thing has some issues. And Brian, what eventually ends up happening? They end up removing the shit because the games can't fucking run. So don't give me this. It's just a minority of games. Who the fuck is talking about Tekken 7?
But that's why they trust you, Tony. Yeah. They trust you. I think they couldn't get the shit to run right at all with the thing running. They're like, oh, this is just janky as fuck, and we cannot handle this PR. We trust you. Because again, don't fucking buy that shit for a second. But like, I want to throw out there again, like,
hold on, Brent, real quick. This is hilarious. So they set up a Discord, like a Discord room, so people, to try to clean up their image, and they have to shut it down because they were getting too much hate.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. These people they're like fucking Sweet Baby Inc., right? Like, they have inserted themselves to be of use to nobody but themselves. Like, there have been like, and I realize that this is a debated topic, but for the most part, a lot of studies show no real negative impact to piracy, and sometimes positive effects associated with piracy. It is
Throwdown does not endorse piracy, by the way. Just getting that out there.
Throwdown does not. I am not necessarily the opinions of Throwdown. I'm not going to say anything else. Connect those dots if you want. But there's a study by Nobuya Fukugawa that found that there's no significant negative relationship between the number of pirated games downloaded and the number of original games purchased. The EU did a study that found that there's no statistically significant impact on sales, but that it may have an effective positive effect on game sales. So, like, all of this over something that we cannot statistically show actually needs to be there. The only reason that this is a thing is because you would think it's the kind of thing where you would think, yeah, I would imagine that hurts sales. And then just going off of that unsubstantiated thought, yeah, I think basic reasoning would lead you to believe that it does, but when studies show repeatedly that it doesn't, then it's like, okay, so really this is just a bunch of self-servicing assholes imposing themselves to the detriment of everybody involved. So I think that it's a good thing that they definitely took it out because it was just a matter of time. They're going to take it out eventually. But I agree with Brian. There's no way in hell it's because they were being nice and they trust people.
Yeah.
No.
It's hilarious. So we're not Philly Fred. No, Call of Duty is not my favorite game. But yeah, very interesting thing with them trying to clean up their PR, image, and apparently it backfiring spectacularly. I'm sorry. What stupid answers? Oh, it's only Tekken 7. Okay.
It's only Tekken 7. Oh, what about Sonic and a bunch of other games?
How about literally every fucking game that uses this shit?
Every game that.
Again, we've been around for a long time, man. We talk about this shit constantly, Anyway, go ahead, Brian.
One of the things that really gets me about his answer, it feels like it's a very modern day type answer. That, again, you can draw whatever comparisons you feel like, but I'm sorry, but this is just how it comes across to me. They come across saying that, oh yeah, this thing that you think is happening isn't actually happening at all. But if it were to happen, it wouldn't be all that bad a thing to happen. It's no, that's not how that works. We have proof. We have a Digital Foundry video where they have two versions, I think Resident Evil 8 or 7, where one is with it and one without. And it literally shows it's doing better without. I don't know what this guy is talking about. And the gaslighting is just, it's unbelievable. Tony, when you were saying you're gonna read out the statement about the performance, I was getting ready to say, okay, let me grab a lantern or a box or something to capture all this gaslight because it's gonna be fantastic and lots of it.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of gaslighting going on there.
It's again, I don't know if it's ignorance or it's just them not willing to see what's in front of their face, but this is ridiculous. And then
They're
yeah,
never gonna admit that their product is faulty.
They're not.
At any point. Even that little bit of smidge is like, oh yeah, we do admit there's one game that had an issue with it, but everything else is fine. No, it's all garbage.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. And even then, again, going back to the whole argument of like why it exists, and then okay, so it exists to stop pirates from pirating the game, but then when it's eventually broken, because for some odd reason it just gets broken really fast anyway, then you end up with pirates that end up with a better performing game in that case. So in actuality, the people that have the worst version of it are the people that paid for it. And hence you get a situation where you only are harming the people that pay for the game, and it's backwards. Not, it's just full of nonsense. So yeah, when I heard the whole Discord thing had happened, I just could not stop laughing. Like it lasted 2 days, and honestly, what did you think was going to happen? Like, if you thought that was a good idea, you clearly did not have like your hand on the pulse. Because even I could have told you, like, yeah, don't do that, because you'll just be full of just anger and vitriol.
I like the way he's like, I'm like you, I'm a gamer. What? You play games sometimes? Is that
right? Mobile games don't fucking count, bro.
Yeah, if you're playing games sometimes, you can't. Number one, if you're going to start flashing your gamer card, then really fucking flash your gamer card. Be like, oh yeah, I got this, I got that. Like, really push it. That's how you get people to go along. But again, they essentially sidestep the elephant in the room and saying it's only fucking that game, when there's literal proof that every single game that has had this stupid DRM in it has an issue because of just how much data it seems to be throwing back out, because it constantly keeps checking that it's an official copy, which is silly. And then the hilarious thing is that not only do the mod community just essentially mods the damn thing out of the goddamn code because it's so fucked up. Or in one situation, the DRM was so idiotic and stupid it couldn't really be removed. So then literally one company had to just put up the pretty much the modded copy of a game. That's how fucked up that thing is.
Yeah, Denuvo is crazy, man.
Just to add to Manny's point, let's see who gets this reference. There was a certain lady a few years ago who claimed that she was a gamer, and she shall not be named.
Oh man, yeah.
So people can sit there and say, "Oh yeah, I'm a gamer just like you." How are you doing, my fellow gamers?
Yeah, I was about to say, see Buscemi showing up. Oh man. All right. In better news, but Brian, I still want to get your take, because now you're not trusting this company so much. So with regard to Steam Deck, people are wondering, wait, how come you guys aren't releasing these more regularly, or like an annual release, like some other like gaming laptops and stuff like that? And according to Valve, they say they don't do yearly releases because it's not fair to the customers, which sounds great, And this is my theory, but I want to get your take on it, Brian. Valve makes so much fucking money. It's like they could afford to not release shit constantly. And also, correct me if I'm wrong here, they're not a public company. They're only beholden to their customers. They're not beholden to shareholders. So they could do shit like this, But on the face of it, it sounds good. No, we don't need a new Steam Deck every year. I know we got the OLED like 2 years later, but that's fine, But Brian, what's your take on that?
I think it's a very smart decision. It makes sense because I feel like with like annual releases, you kind of water down and you end up with like the iPhone problem of, oh yeah, it's the same as last year, just with this small update or that small update. And you really don't want that for the Steam Deck. Like, you want to stand out, because I am pretty sure Tony's gone to the point now where if he has to like review or be near another Steam Deck Steam Deck-esque platform, which is like another version of the ROG or the Asus or no, that same company. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Lenovo,
If it's like another,
Asus, MSI, yeah.
Just like, oh yeah, it's like another version of this handheld for like this year, and it's just the same thing, maybe slightly better internals, but same time is really worth it, etc., etc. So I do like how they've approached it. I think that's better because then it kind of makes the Steam Deck a bit more special. Because then it's like, okay, the Steam Deck 2 will be something drastically different, and okay, that's great, that's nice. It's almost treating it like a new generation of consoles, where it's like, oh yeah, you had a PS2, okay, the PS3, okay, it's vastly different. It's something that you didn't get before. It has all these cool things internally and does all these other things. Great, it means that you can make it an event, and when you do comparisons, you can actually have comparison showing, oh yeah, this is how much better the new one is compared to the old one. Whereas if it's like a yearly thing, then you don't get that. So I do like that. I'm just interested to see how this all falls out. Again, they didn't specify when or what it'll be. They just said they kind of weirdly confirmed the Steam Deck 2, but they didn't really say anything about it, which I can deal with. I'm still enjoying my OG Steam Deck, so fine by me. Let's just wait and see. And Tony, to what you said, it's not that I don't trust Steam. It's just they're like one step away from being like a bad guy, in my opinion. They're just kind of like on the precipice,
Why do
you
say that?
On the ledge. Some of their decisions I don't agree with. Again, I'm a big fan of GOG because of their stance on DRM, and even with Steam games, again, with the news last week that they had throw up the thing saying that you're not buying the game, you're buying a license to said game, so hence you don't really own it. So the fact that it's such a large platform and you don't really own your games, and all these problems with what happens if your games get locked out, or if they lock your account, then your games are gone. There's still that as a core problem. So it's not like they've done anything differently. It's just more how they currently stand. I don't agree with, and I don't like how they do the business. I prefer how GOG does the same business. That's all. So that's why I say like the one step away from being a bad guy, because in essence they could at any moment just turn around and say, okay, we're making this one small change that fucks up everything. So
yeah, well, I think that's fair. But yeah, I'm gonna read some of these quotes from Valve. It's important to us that we've tried to be really clear. We are not doing the yearly cadence. We're not going to do a bump every year. There's no reason to do that. And honestly, from our perspective, that's kind of not really fair to your customers to come out with something so soon after with only incrementally better. So we really want to wait for a generational leap in compute without sacrificing battery life before we ship the real second generation of Steam Deck. But it's something that we're excited about and we're working on. Obviously, we'd love to get even more performance in the same power envelope, but that technology doesn't exist yet. That's what I think we call a Steam Deck 2. The first Steam Deck was the first moment in time where we felt like there was enough GPU performance in a portable form factor that lets you play all your Steam games. We would love for the trend of perf per watt to progress rapidly to do that, but it's not quite there yet. Those reasons seem pretty valid to me, because it would suck if you get this like awesome fucking machine and the battery life is like 20 minutes. It's like, yeah, you get awesome performance and then just fucking dies. So I get that. But yeah, on the surface of it, from my perspective, Valve hasn't done really anything egregiously horrible. Again, probably because they're not publicly traded. So they are beholden to their customers. But I like this. I wish more companies would say this. And I'm not just talking about video. I'm talking about in general. Bro, for example, remember I review laptops, right? I am now at a point, because I've been with Tom's Guide for 3 years. I'm now at a point where I'm reviewing the third iteration of some of these machines. And I'm like, the fuck, year by year, there's barely any difference, Obviously, if you wait a bunch of years between, yes, you'll see different, performance and shit like that. But yearly, bro, it's like, yeah. So I'm really glad, Steam is doing this, and I find it also very interesting how its competitors are dropping one a year effectively. Asus did it, MSI did it, Lenovo is rumored to be doing it too. They're going to be dropping another Go. So it's just wild that their competitors are dropping these things once a year. So it makes Valve look even better, where they're like, no, we'll hold off until we got a real innovative thing going on here. And I respect that. You know, this is the opposite of what we talked about with Dragon Age. You're like, oh, let's give the customer something actually worthwhile, you know? And to the Steam Deck's credit, it's still fucking awesome. It's still the best handheld, even though there are other machines out there that have way better performance and stuff. Not performance, better specs, right? The performance isn't all there, and the fucking UI is absolutely not there. You know, because you're relegated to fucking Windows 11, which is not handheld friendly at all. You know, that's why I'm hoping that, you know, Steam OS does come to other platforms. Valve already said they want to do that, so that'll be good. But you'll probably still have to fucking go through Windows 11 before you get to that point. You know, I'm sorry, gamers don't want to be asked if they want to install Office 365, bruh. They just want to play their fucking games. So yeah, Steam Deck is the truth, bro. All right, moving on here. This one's for Riku. He's not here, but this one's for Riku. Guerrilla Games, as you know, they're all about the Horizon games, the remaster dropping. But they used to be known for another game, another franchise even, Killzone. And some people have held out hope that maybe Killzone will come back one day. Well, that ain't happening. Guerrilla Games themselves said, we are done. Not a rumor, came straight from them. So pour one out for, the Helgans or whatever the fuck they were called.
Well, they're like, well, we've been looking for the Halo killer. We don't need the Halo killer because we got the company that made Halo. Right? Is that what?
Bungie, kind of.
Is that a valid thing to say here?
Sure, I'll go with it. Has anyone here played these games? Brian, I think you played Killzone, haven't you?
I played 1 and 2. Yes, I did.
Okay, that's more than me.
I actually thought about getting the platinum for 2, but then I seen what you need to do, and the last couple of trophies were just nonsense. So I said, no, not doing this. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed 1 and 2. I thought they were really great games. 3 wasn't so much a fan of. I thought 2 ended in a very nice spot, but when I heard 3 was coming out, I was like, this kind of seems a bit unnecessary. And then they changed the color palette and it was less gray and kind of made the world weirdly too colorful. Because again, the whole point was it's meant to be just space Nazis. So it's not meant to be colorful. And then Shadowfall came out, and I was like, yeah, this is not the Killzone that I like, so I'm not going to play it.
Brian, unfortunately, that's the one and only Killzone game I've played from beginning to end. Atrocious. Me playing that as my first Killzone is like somebody playing Dragon Age Veilguard as the first Dragon Age game,
Don't worry, Tony. My first Metal Gear Solid game was 2. So
2 was still all right. If you would have said your first was Acid, that would have been a problem.
Okay, fair enough. So I was kind of always in the fence of I don't think they could make ones like they used to, just because the current mantra of how games should look is very different, and how they should feel as well. So I was never in the mindset that Killzone should come back. It was more a case of it definitely would be nice to get like a remaster in the trilogy being kind of looking like number 4. I think that could work. But I think in sense of a narrative point of view, the 4th one just kind of made no sense in my opinion. Because the whole thing is just the Helghast are essentially just space Nazis, and in the 3rd game you blow up the world, so hence they're on Earth and they're refugees and they kind of live in like their own quarantine zone. And then in the 4th one there's just conflict between the two. It's like, okay, why did you blow up the world in the first place? And it's just kind of it's like a weird like rolling back of things, like, oh yeah, we need the Helghast to exist, so we can put them somewhere, but we kind of killed them all. It's kind of like Infamous Second Son, where the game really does make sense if you know the ending of Infamous 2, where the good ending and the bad ending kind of means that no, Infamous Second Son can't exist really. But anyway, that's a whole other problem. So I was never in the idea that you could make a fifth one because naturally it would just be an absolute mess. So now that the current said this, I'm not too surprised, especially given how we have Horizon Zero Dawn remaster. It's clear that all the eggs are in Horizon now. So yeah, ever since I heard that as like a remaster, I'm like, yeah, Killzone franchise is never coming back unless it's in Astrobots. So is it in Astrobots?
Yeah, they have Hellions. Yeah.
Okay.
They have Hellgas in there.
Yeah. All right, so there you go. Pour one out for Killzone, man. All right, and the last thing I want to talk about, I want to end the show on good news.
Good news.
The Monster Hunter Wilds beta is happening next week, bro. It's happening next week. Let's fucking go. Okay, so from what I understand of what you're going to be able to play, this is what I played about 2 months ago. During this was shown at Gamescom. So you're going to get like the introductory part where you kind of, just learn a little bit about the story. There's a hunt, which is really fun, and then the character creator. Those are the three main things. And interestingly enough, PlayStation Plus members will actually get first crack at the game, before it's open to everybody, which is kind of interesting. So this is from the PlayStation blog. PS Plus members will have early access to the open beta test from Monday, October 28th, 8 p.m. Pacific, Tuesday, October 29th, 3 a.m. GMT. I don't know what the fuck that is. Basically, from October 28th to October 30th, you'll be able to play it. But it's like at certain times, it seems like. Those who are not PS Plus members can also participate in open beta from Thursday, October 31st to Monday, November 4th. So this is like a week-long beta, basically. Like if you're on PS Plus, you can play the whole time, bro. That is fucking cool. You already know the hunt is on, man. And I think we should probably do some test streams because we're coming back to that. Throwdown game night. The return. The return of that was the birthplace of it, so it's coming back.
Yo, man. All I gotta say is, Capcom. They keep messing with me, man. They're like, let's we're gonna do a beta of a game that's gonna release the time that Carlos leaves for a vacation. So let's release that beta a week before Carlos leaves for another vacation.
Damn, Carlos, they keep getting you, boy.
But this time, good thing, it's not something to be happy about. But I'm glad that at least for me, I'm glad that it ends on November 3rd because that's like 3 days before I leave. So I'll be there, man. I can't wait. I'm shining the hammer. I'm got my what do they call the whetstones to
the whetstones sharpen that shit, boy.
Sharpening that shit.
Yeah,
getting ready.
And like I was telling you guys, man, like again, I played this beta myself or the demo. It's so fucking good. It's like just based off of that, I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be on the level of World or better, probably better. It's like there was one point in the fucking fight. Remember, it's not a spoiler because the shit is dynamic, right? I'm hunting a monster during the middle of a fucking sandstorm, and off in the distance you see three other monsters, not two, three, just fucking each other up. Getting closer and closer. I'm like, oh shit. Am I gonna get caught in the middle of his fucking battle? During the middle of a sandstorm. Thankfully, I avoided it. But it's so good. It's so good. Can't wait. Cannot wait for this shit. So yeah, stay tuned for I don't know when, but we will definitely do at minimum one Throwdown game night for this shit. I can't fucking wait, man.
So October 28th, you said is a Monday, and it releases on 8 p.m. Pacific, so that's 11 p.m. Eastern.
God damn it.
That's really late.
Yeah, it's really late. Well, that's the thing. We're probably going to just do it on the weekend because here's the other difference. Like, you know, when Monster Hunter World came out, I was a freelancer. But my schedule was whatever. I work now. So I'll probably only be able to really dive in. Yeah, 11 p.m. That's when I got to go to bed, you know? Yeah, so it'll be during the weekend. That's probably when we're going to link up, like Friday night and Saturday, get two good sessions in. And we got to test it. Well, I'll probably just stream it off of regular PlayStation. But I do eventually want to get because I have the old Elgato. I want to get the new one, and I have it. I know people at Elgato, son. So I'll see if they can hook it up. You know, you know, I got the connection, bro. You know. So yeah, I'm hyped. Let's fucking do this, man. Monster Hunter. We are so back, man. Let's go. All right, and that is going to do it for Throwdown tonight.
Hold on.
Oh,
there's one thing that you missed.
What's up?
Apparently, the demo will have crossplay.
Yes, it will. I forgot about that.
So I'm eager to try that out.
Yeah. So regardless of what platform, Brian, hopefully you could join us. We'll see. You know, shit. If this is happening during, Manny, the fucking, you know, you and I got the fucking Maiden show on Saturday. So we'll probably have to do the stream on Friday night. We'll figure it out.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm probably going to be there.
Yeah, you will be.
Watching you play.
Watching me play, yeah. Yelling and shit. But yeah, crossplay, everybody can join, man. Good stuff. All right, now let's really wrap it up. Rich, what's going on with the coalition that you're allowed to tell us about?
Oh, yeah, I like how you phrased that I am allowed to talk about. So, first and foremost, Mr. Adam Vale, Carlos Romero, and I will be recording the next episode of I Am Negan, the Daryl Dixon Show, this upcoming weekend. So, stay tuned for that. Should be a quite interesting episode. Maybe. We'll see. As for the coalition, as have been saying here for the last couple of weeks, yeah, we've been pretty busy reviewing a lot of different games. I dropped a ton of reviews this week on the website. One in particular, Romancing Saga 2, Revenge of the Seven. If you want to check out an RPG game, I highly recommend you check out this game. And there is a demo right now that's on the PlayStation Store, I believe, that you can actually check out and get an idea of the whole opening of the game to see whether or not you want to continue. But that game, probably one of the best games I've played and enjoyed this month. I have not played, Metaphor yet. So I will have a lot to say once I actually have. Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I have some things to say about that, in the future. But I would encourage you all, if you want to hear our thoughts on a lot of the games that are out or coming out, stay tuned to the website. And there is some stuff that will be coming to the website next week. Obviously, we can't talk about that yet, but all I can say is stay tuned. Yeah, there you go. Lou, you're going to Maiden Barclays as well? All right, we'll be in touch, man. It'll be good to link up. But yeah, like Rich, I also have a few things I cannot talk about, but I will in due course. Stay tuned for that. We don't break NDAs unlike Tom Henderson. All right, man. We're done here, so make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube and join the Discord where the conversations, the rumors are always popping. Again, shout out to you guys for always dropping all the hottest news in there because that's where all our stories come from. So shout out to you guys, We are also on whatever podcast app you listen to. So whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, fucking whatever, we're on there. So make sure you check us out. And for everything else, make sure you check out the links down below. Once again, our show is Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
And Brian Manjoma.
I wonder what the mystery monster will be in the demo.
Oh, there's going to be a mystery monster. You already know. Mm-hmm. Oh, I can't wait. Can't wait. All right, guys. We will see you on Sunday. Start getting them questions in. Later.
Peace.